and welcome to the Booknook channel. I am Priyanka Saha and today I am going to review the book The Yellow Metaphor, Poems from Assam by Jiban, Narah, translated from Assamese by Anandita Kar. As you can see, this book has this beautiful bright yellow cover and the title is also The Yellow Metaphor. The translator of this book says in her note, "Yellow here is not a shade but a spectrum, the color of ripeness and desire, of mustard fields and morning skies, of fingers that smell of corn, of eyes and lingering fingerprints, of blossoms and memory. It is the color that dazzles, unsettles, blinds and illuminates." That is the essence of this book of poems from Assam. It is steeped in missing and Assamese lore. The poet is of missing origin and he writes in Assamese, Jiban Narah, and it is very metaphor rich. And I would like to read some of my favorite lines from this book, though there are many. There is this one poem called Guest, and there is also a very beautiful thing about Guest, which she writes here, that when I read this book, actually, when I read the poems in this book, I realized that, I had never read poems that read like this. It reads different, and any person who has read poems of English poets or American poets or even like Latin American poets, there is a uniqueness, though it is written in English, there is a very unique flavor to the poems and there is a very unique language to the poems. So I wondered what was it exactly that it read so different and so unique. And I saw the translator has written in her note that the reader is allowed to enter the poem as a guest, curious, slightly disoriented, but aware of a language that glows under another moon. And that just revealed the secret to me that even though the poems are in English, the uniqueness of the poems comes from the fact that it is so rooted in the culture and the context in which the poems were originally written that it makes them unique, and the uniqueness comes out in a very brilliant, even beautiful poetic language that has been used in this book. And I would read one of the poems, which is also titled Guest. "Come this Bihu, I won't share my address. Seek out a smoked potato village. You can ask my address to anyone carrying a pail of water, or you can ask the half-naked boys building sand castles on the riverside. If you come across young women giggling at you, that's my village, my home." And this is like this very typical image of, that welcoming. It kind of reminds me of Kanthapura of Rajarao, the way the narrator kind of welcomes the reader into the world which he has created in his work. This poem also kind of invites the reader as a guest into this very different world with giggling young women of the village, people carrying pail of water, and festive seasons, and young men and women dancing and asking you to join in the dance. So that is a very beautiful and unique scenario that has come out. And there is also a love poem or a few love poems in this collection, and one of them is "You smell like ripe corn. You are drenched as I had longed for. Step out of the waters wet. I'll harvest your ripe corn-scented fingers and store them in my barn. I love you. Men to the east, the sun to the west. Come, let's carefully turn yellow like the ripened sun." The phrase like the ripened sun, corn-scented fingers, the smell of corn, it's erotic, the poem. And I really like that nature eroticism that's there in this poem. And there was also this very beautiful poem where it's called Crepe Jasmine Thicket. And I really like the lines, the last lines of this poem. Beneath the whiteness of the crepe jasmine flower, my grandfather's voice rests for years and years. So there's a little personal story which I would like to tell. And I shared these few lines on my Instagram, on my personal account as well. The crepe jasmine flower, it's a very common flower in Assam and probably in some other regions of the Indian subcontinent as well. And I had one crepe jasmine tree in my house, my house which was built by my grandfather. And the plant, it was also planted by my grandfather, and he passed away when I was very young. And the memory of that crepe jasmine flower and like in during the monsoon season, it would be full of beautiful white flowers. And whenever when I read these lines, it just reminded me of my grandfather, and it just kind of brought these tears into my eyes. There is a kind of poetry that touches the heart. It touches those parts of us which we once had lived and experienced, and it just kind of connects all of us into this world where we can relive those experiences. And I really, really thought and remembered my grandfather when that happened, when I happened to read these lines, and it was a very overwhelming feeling. So I think, yeah, there is something very Indian about this book at large. And I really liked some of the poems in this collection, many of the poems in this collection. And if you want to read something different, if you want to read Asmi's poetry in English translation, and you're looking for something which is refreshing, which is going to maybe connect to the parts of you which you haven't discovered before, this is the perfect book for you. Um, this is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching.